follow-up email that has some resources from our session, including a recording of our video. So you can pass that on to them too, or we do have a final series of sessions next week. They are filling up quickly, but at vassal.org, you can sign up. Finally, looking through the roster, I think almost all of us, all over 200 who have signed up are from Virginia. So we're in this together. We're serving our students, not their students, my students, our students, and together we will get through this. Continuing on, this is a 201. So some of the topics that we covered in 101, how to create a class, how we add students, and a general overview of what assignments are and what topics are. Finally, we looked at themes. So if those are new skills to you, all of these are linked to different videos that can help walk you through how to do that task. So that is kind of the assumption that we know how to create a class, we know how to add students and so forth. On the right-hand side, I have a new link in here. So if you can click on this icon in your notes, this should pop up with getting started with Google Classroom. Google just a few days ago relaunched what the site will look like. So in here, you can scroll through what is Classroom, how do I access Classroom, and so forth. Seeing all sorts of things like what is the classwork page, how do I provide feedback and grades. So all of that is available. All right, so as you continue down, we have different lessons and tips and tricks from other teachers, including how to copy a course, and that is something we'll look at the end of our time together today. And then here are guides you can go to about traffic lights and parents, e-portfolios, lots of different types of resources that you can jump into. So again, this is all free, it's provided by Google, and it's brand new, so very up to date. Okay, so continuing on, when we get into Classroom, we're going to be talking about a few different types of posts that we can do. We've already looked at assignments quite a bit, but as we're going through this, we will look at each of these in much greater detail. So at this point, I'm going to switch to Google Classroom. If you know how to get there, get to Classroom however you know how to. If you're brand new to this, then I would encourage you to go type in the browser at the top of your screen, classroom.google.com, and that should take you to Classroom. So I'm going to go there, and if you all could as well, that'd be great. Okay, so now I'm in my Google Classroom. You can see that I have 3 different courses here. Live demo from yesterday, practice class, and demo. I'm not super creative when it comes to my class names. And I'm gonna go into this demo course. You can go ahead and pick any of your courses, or if you don't have any, you can click this plus sign and create a course and then rejoin us. So, you know, I'm clicking demo, I'm into my class, and I'm going straight to classwork. So within this, we have our most prominent button up here is this create button. I'm clicking on create, and we have all these different types of things that we can create. We'll go into a deeper dive with assignments in just a moment, but I do want to go through what these other options are. So the very first one is quiz assignment. And what quiz assignment is it uses Google Forms. And Google Forms is an amazing tool. It's kind of a forgotten.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. We are seeing your
Google Drive,
Google slide presentation, but we're not seeing your classroom that you're talking about.
I'm just seeing your chart of types of posts.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
And if you could share the window of your Google Classroom.
You guys are great. Okay, so thank you. Grace, yay. Okay, so John, I get what you're saying by screen in the text, so thank you. All right, so let me get back here. All right, so I went to my class, then I went to classwork, create, and selected quiz assignment. Okay, so in here, Google Forms is a fantastic tool, and there are a lot of different things that you can do with forms, but one of them is you can create a quiz that is self-graded, so that after your kids are done taking it, it automatically will provide them feedback about how they've done, and it gives you some really great insights into how they're doing as well. So let me find an example of one that I've done with my students. I think it's this one. Yeah, so here is a form that I previously did with my students. We're not going to get into how to create it today. I do have a session on Google Forms scheduled for next week, so if you'd like to enroll in that, I do think we still have some spots available. But I want to show you what the back end of our forms would look like, just so you can see how helpful this could be. So right now I have 47 people who've responded. On average, I get that. Automatically it's going to update. I get all the statistics, well, 3 different ways that we can look at it, the median and range from 0 to 80%. Now this is a pretty lighthearted quiz. It's not like an SOL or anything. So I'm not too concerned that we had a 0. It was kind of trivia about me. We continue to go down and we can see frequently missed questions. So I know that I probably will need to go back and reteach this question, right? It tells me that only 4 out of 47 students have gotten it correct. So I'll need to make sure that we do readdress that as a full group. Whereas here, half of my students got it correct. I may or may not need to go back and reteach to everyone, but I may choose to reteach to the smaller group. Again, as my 48th student submits, all of these numbers would update. These numbers here, this chart would update, and it would constantly be live. As we scroll down, I get a chart for each question, including I'm a diehard fan of which college team, my Ohio University Bobcats, and so forth. So lots of different ways that we can interact with this data. And the other cool thing with it in here, I'm going to check this out, and it allows me to import the grades too. So I can see how well John did, I can see how Sarah did, and it brings all of those scores into Classroom's gradebook as well. So that is a very simple way to use the quizzes. I'm gonna cancel that, come into create. We also have material, and to just quickly talk through what material is. This is if I want to get something to my students, I want to get a resource to my students, but they don't need to submit anything. They don't need to mark it as done or anything like that. So at this point, I'm going to get into assignment. And in here, this will be, today's the 12th, so May 12th assignment, very creative, right? And I'm going to start adding different types of resources in here. So the very first one, I'm going to hit add, then Google Drive. And it's going to bring up every type of work that I have in here. So I can do, I can post a video, I can post slides, I can search by type of file. So I want to find a presentation, and I'll add that. I'm going to add a few other resources in here too, and with this, I'll move pretty quickly. Now, if you are not the owner of one of these documents, maybe a team member owns it, there is a chance that it may not save completely correctly, so you may want to make a copy of a resource before you pass it out to your students. And I'll add a couple other ones in here. Keep choosing ones that I'm not the owner. Okay, here we go. All right, so I have these 2 documents in here, and on the right-hand side, it allows me to make different selections. Students can view file, means that it is kind of like a PDF. They can't make any changes to it. This is really good if you have a reading passage for them, or if it's an overview of your course. So you may select students can view file. I'm going to make this one, make a copy for each student. And this allows me to, even though I have 2 different resources tagged to the same assignment, each one can have a different setting in here. I'm going to continue to add different other types of resources. So we'll have our link, google.com. And I'll add a video. So this will be Classroom. And I know I showed this in 101, but I do want to just quickly show it again. In here, as we see our videos, it does tell us the length of time. So this is 24 minutes. I probably wouldn't share that with my students, right? Even if they're seniors, 24 minutes is not realistic that they'll watch the whole thing. So maybe finding a 2 or 3 minute video that would better serve them. So here is an 11-minute one. I'll grab that, hit edit or add. And now I have my 2 resources here. I have my website and I have a YouTube video. I also have the option in here, say you haven't yet made the resource that you need. So if you hit create, you can directly from here make a doc, slide, sheets, drawings, or forms. So anything that you make by clicking create will post or will be saved in your Google Drive. And in assignments, if a student wants to create something, they can do that directly from your assignment too. So very easy. Now bouncing over to the right-hand side, I can select individual students. If I only want it to go to Carter instead of every student, I can do that. Or I can select multiple classes, so I can post to multiple people or places at the same time. We do have the option of adding a rubric in here. And what that allows us to do, easier feedback to our students. We also have the option of originality reports. So I do want to just quickly say, I would encourage you not to really mess with originality reports for the remainder of the school year. We have enough going on right now. If you're shifting to Google Classroom, that's a big enough transition. But essentially what this does, each class that you have can use this feature, I think, up to 3 times. And it allows our students to go in and check to see if they've given enough credit to their sources. This is a completely free service. You can use it as a teacher, your students can use it, and it will look through any works cited, any citations that you have, and will give them a report. And it'll flag any trouble areas. Continuing back, we're back to the top right of our screen, and when we're ready, we can either hit assign or click this downward triangle. And from here, we have a few different options. I can schedule it, so I'm going to do that right now. I want this to go live tomorrow at 8 a.m. So I'm going to hit schedule. For a lot of, hello? So I'm gonna mute us real quick. So for a lot of people, we're doing weekly assignments, so you may choose to do the Sunday, and that way parents and students would be able to access that content a day before the school week really starts. So I'm going to hit schedule, and now I don't have to do anything. Here we have it, it's grayed out. It tells me it's scheduled for May 17th, and when that posts, I'll get an email telling me, but I don't have to do anything else. I can kind of set it and forget it at that point. Now, a couple other things to note down through here. I have this one topic. If I need to move something into that topic, so if I want May 12th assignment to now be part of this topic, I can just drag it down. I can move topics up or down, and it's very easy to order things the way that I want them to be. So at this point, I'm going to head back to my slides to just kind of check to make sure that we're hitting everything that we need to, and then we'll continue moving on. Okay, so far we've gone through the different styles of posts that we can do. We've looked at, we can add to multiple classes at the same time. We've looked at if we choose not to do multiple classes, and this really is an or. We can't do both multiple classes and specific students, so you would have to choose one of these two. You can do select Cheryl and Alexis and Mr. Gambino, and those would be the only people who would get it. Lucy would not get it if I go through and make those selections. Now, just a real quick note, this can be really helpful if you're trying to do differentiation for your students based on their need or by their interest or whatever it might be. I would also use this type of setup for group work, where Alexis, Cheryl, Sarah, and Tara are all in the same group. So I'm going to post to them and make it all students can edit. And that way they're all 5 of those kids will be in the same document and making edits together. Continuing on, I know I just showed an example of one assignment post that had 4 different resources linked within it. To me, that can often become pretty chaotic for our students, especially younger students. So a really good alternative to that is something called a HyperDoc or choice board. So what we can do, instead of giving them a lot of posts or having one assignment that has 15 different links and resources in it, we can package them into either a HyperDoc or choice board. So some things that we can do with this, our students are only submitting one piece of work, and all of their work is going to be on that choice board, and all of the any content they would need would be found on that choice board too. I really encourage people to do a mix of solo activities, group activities, and full class learning activities when we do a HyperDoc or a choice board. And if you want to learn more about some of this, I am doing a session tomorrow from 4 to 5. I'm not sure if there are still spots available. I think Liza might be able to speak to that. And then we're also doing another session of this next week as well. And I think that does have some spots available still. And I think my son just woke up. All right. So continuing on, we're going to transition. Hi, Carter. Hi. You want to say hi to people? Okay. You had a good nap? Okay, good. Come here. You had a big nap. Can you wave? There are lots of people back here. Hi. All right. So the next thing we're going to look at is feedback. And I'm going to go to another class now that has a lot of work that's been turned in. So when I come to the classwork, I can see that.
Dad.
Yeah, buddy.
I can see people.
You can't see the people? They can see you. All right, so in here we have level 1 skills. And when I click on that, I can see 0 students have turned it in. 14 people, he's outside playing. 14 have been assigned. Now the cool thing about this, as a student hits turn in, I don't have to refresh this page. The numbers will just shift back and forth, allowing me to see where my students stand. So when I click on assigned 14, I have my 14 students in here, and I can click on any of them and be able to see their current standing. So right here is my student Sarah. When I click on her, it comes up, and this is before she even hits submit, right? Because she hasn't done that step yet. And I can start giving her feedback even though she hasn't turned anything in. Think about how different this is from when we were growing up and we had to turn in that rough draft or turn in that paper to our students or to our teacher before we could even hope to be able to get feedback from them. Those days are gone by using this awesome tool of Google Classroom. So now that I have her entire paper in here, I can start to give feedback a few different ways. One is by adding some comments. So I click these 3 little dots.
Dad,
Yeah, buddy.
talking to?
I'm talking to 170 people right now. That's pretty cool. All right, so if I wanted to give feedback about this line here, I'm going to click this button for adding a comment. And this allows me to, you taking off, buddy? All right, I love you. Be able to give a note. So great start, Sarah. And I can comment, and now when Sarah goes back in, it's highlighted and the comment is over here on the right-hand side. So some other things that we can do directly from here, and this is an old view of an assignment. So let me switch now to a newer one. So here we have, and I had to do this because I created that assignment before some changes took place in Google Classroom. They are consistently updating their interface and what it looks like, which is really good for us. They do listen to teachers a lot. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. Notice on the right-hand side, this looks a little bit different. We have our rubric in here. And as this comes up, just like I did before, I can do the comments. One other way that I can give feedback to my students, notice most of the time that you're in a Google Doc, we have an icon that looks like just a pencil. But if we click up here, we have 3 different ways that we can interact with the document. We can do editing mode, where any changes that we do are saved immediately. We have suggestion mode, which is going to be really helpful as the educator, or if you're doing some peer feedback in your class. So I'm going to go to suggesting, and now when I make a change in here, so if I do write, that's fine, you can have that. If instead of jot, I suggest write ideas, it doesn't take effect until the student accepts that choice. All right, here you go, buddy. Okay, so some other things that I can do in here, I can leave a private comment to that student. So Carter, keep up your progress, resubmit when you're done. And that goes just to Carter. No other student would be able to see that, only this particular kiddo. So I'm going to post that to him. I'm going to go in and give him his score out of 30. He got a 27. And when I'm all set, I can hit return. And now Carter can get that score, and it's going to post to my gradebook as well. All right, so that is one way that we can do feedback, and I know that we're going to kind of bleed into some other parts of the feedback view right now. Sorry, throwing me off just a little bit. Try my best. All right, so up here, we have Sarah's name. I did switch back to that account, and if I click on Sarah's name, it comes up with all of the other students in Sarah's class, and I can pick Margaret, I can pick on Carrie Ann, or I can just toggle with these arrows. And so now I'm with Brian, and I can go and review his work, give him the comments, give him feedback, and continue on. It used to be that my students would have to email me a copy of this or share it, and I'd have to go and open up each of their Google Docs separately. But now with this awesome feature, I can just go one by one by one and be able to see them all. So after I've gone and given my students their scores, all of their scores are going to pop into this grade option. So back in our Google Classroom, we have stream, classwork, people, and grades. I'm going to bounce over to grades now. And in here, and this isn't really a course that I give grades too much, and I know for a lot of you right now, you're not giving too many grades, but I know that in the fall or next school year at some point, you may transition back. My friends can't hear me. There are 170 of them in here, and I bet some have even said hi to you in the chat. Maybe not. Okay. But so back in here, I can see their grades. I get the class average. I can see. Okay, now some people are saying hi. Okay. If you want to unmute and say hi to Carter real quick, so he believes that you're
Carter. How you doing?
Carter, how you doing?
All right. What do you say to that?
Hi, Carter.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Welcome back,
Hi,
Carter.
Carter.
Say hi, Carter.
Oh, this is awesome.
Say
So
hi,
cool.
Carter.
Okay, so back in our gradebook. Notice how cool this is, that it tells me that it hasn't been turned in yet, or it's turned in late. I get that information. I can see their grades here. I can change their grades here. So instead of a 40, Brian has resubmitted, and now he's at an 80%. It's going to adjust his scores and do all of that in here. It doesn't post until I say to return it, and then it would update with all of those scores. So all 5 of those students are now getting new scores. Brian went up to an 86%. So great job, Brian. I think you're doing a fantastic job here. So again, this is a newer feature of Google Doc or of Classroom. It came out not too long ago, but really cool that they have it built in directly to Classroom at this point. All right, so I do have a video on our slides that talk about how to do feedback. One other idea about how we can do effective feedback is I like to use the term feed forward, because I don't care where we've been. I want to know where that student's going, and I want to give specific feedback to them. So there is a really powerful extension for Google Chrome, and there are a lot of tools that do this. My favorite is called Screencastify, where I can be in the student's work, record as I'm going through and giving feedback, and this allows them to see my face, it allows them to hear my voice, and it makes it a lot more human than just having something typed. It also makes me feel like they're more likely to look at it because it does have that personalized touch that we might lose sometimes when it's just typed information. You bored, buddy? Taking off? All right, so maybe Carter will come back. He's looking at a Pete the Cat book. Such a good book. All right, okay. And we're gonna continue going. Again, you do have a video in there that you can take a peek at. We've already taken our look at, we took our look at gradebook and rubrics. And again, you can watch this video that's in here, but I love that it's built directly in. I know I've worked with some teachers who do all of their grades in Google Classroom, and then at the end of the 9 weeks or at the end of the semester would transfer a single grade over to PowerSchool or whatever information system you use. So before I do that, I'd want to make sure that I'm on board with whatever my school's expectations are, but know that there is a precedent that some people are doing that. All right, so next, it's important to include parents, right? We want to make sure that as we're thinking about serving our students, especially right now, that our parents are in the loop about what learning looks like. So I want to show you what, how we can make this happen. So back in this class, if I go to my people page, you'll notice that I only have one student. His name's Carter. Like, I'm really creative when it comes to naming students in here.
That's on.
That's you? Oh, you're now Ton. Okay. So in here, I've added a parent, and all I have to do is go and find their address one time and send it out to email all guardians. I can add them in, and they get a weekly summary email about what's going on. So with this, I can, let me model this for you, how to turn it on real quick. So in here, I can hit the settings gear at the top. And when I'm in this spot down in general, we have the options of guardian summaries. And all I'd have to do is turn this on. Now, if in your district, that's not an option, you might want to reach out to your principal or your district technology department and ask them to turn it on. Here's a quick example of what the summaries look like. I do want to quickly speak. I've heard some districts say that it's a privacy concern about other students, and there's no mention of other students in here. There's no access to other students' names or work. So when we go through here, I can see what my student is missing. I can see what's due next week and any upcoming assignments that, any assignments from the past week. So in history class, I can see any assignments from the past week for all of the classes. So even though my student Carter is in 5 different classes, we get US history, we get American literature, I know it, we get biology, and all of those are in here, and this is an automated thing where each week they get access to it. Okay, so again, that is a one-click turn on, and once the parent is connected to the student, every class that they join, that connection will still be there, so you won't have to continually go back and do that. I'm gonna take just a second to regain my composure. Gonna get a quick drink of my sparkling water. All right, teaching, it's different now, right? Okay, so at this point, I'm going to hit save. And it really is that simple to be able to add them in here. They would just verify they're getting an email they can verify and begin to get their summaries. Okay, we've already talked about quizzes. Please know that there is this video here and that next week we will have the Google Forms session that you can go back and learn as well. Originality report, as I mentioned before, being able to see, it's kind of like a Turnitin resource, but again, built directly in. I often get the question, how do I know if our students are just stealing it from somewhere on the internet? And I mean, ultimately you don't, unless you use a tool like this, or you had the rapport with your students that you can ask them. So again, this is a really helpful tool, and we can watch this video about how to utilize that with your students in the future. All right, so we're gonna transition to a very important topic, and that's community. So right now, we're trying to do instruction from across the state. Our students are not with us every day like we're accustomed to, but we still want to reach out. We still want to foster that sense of community. We know that the social emotional piece is so important, and we want to make sure that we meet their needs. So to do that, we have a couple different options that are built directly into Classroom. The very first one, and this is pretty new, is Google Meet. And so Google Meet is a video tool that allows us to do a lot of the same things that we do in Zoom. However, it's very secure and tied to your Classroom roster. So I'm going to show you how this works. This is, again, a brand new feature. So if you don't see it in your options, it's something that your G Suite for Education admin would have to turn on. So again, you'd want to reach out to your district technology team, and they'd probably be able to help you out. So I'm going to model how this works, what it looks like, and we'll go back over how secure it is too. All right, so at the top of my screen, I'm going back to my settings icon. And in here, I have General. Just beneath where our Guardian Summaries option is, I have this button to be able to make a Meet link viewable to my students. So here I have this link. You'll notice that it's going to show up a few different places within our classroom. As soon as a student logs in, they'll see Meet link, and all they'd have to do is click on it. Also from the classwork page, here is how they can get to Meet or get to Google Calendar, or anything that you create in Google Classroom also is saved in your Drive, and it's organized in a folder. So all of those interlocking tools are all available right here. So what your students would do, or what you would do, you might say, we're having a class meeting Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Click the Meet link at that time. All right, so I post it. All of my students are aware that we're doing this meeting at 10:30 tomorrow. When they get to Classroom at 10:25 or 10:28, or, you know, they're young children, so it might even be 10:32, who knows. All they'd have to do is click on this, and now all of a sudden they're in our secure meeting. When I say secure, I want to show you how I know that it is truly secure. And we will look at a few questions that have arisen. I'm sure that there are a couple questions going in your head right now. But if I copy this link address and take it over to this other Google account, we'll see if I can get in. And we're going to see in just a second that it's going to pop up that I don't have access. So still don't have access. It says it's getting ready, but if I try to join, don't believe it'll let me in. Oh, okay. So maybe I'm wrong about that. Don't know what's going on right there. Okay, that hasn't happened before, so I do have a concern about that. But what we would want to do to make sure that only our students, and you know what it probably is, I am logged in with an account that should have access over here too, so I'm guessing that's what's going on. So don't get too critical right now. We'll look into that in the future too. All right, so as I've worked with other groups, one problem area that we've thought through together is we don't want our students to just be able to access this link at any given time. So after you've done a session, I'd encourage you, after you've done your meeting, to go back to your settings and reset our link. So we're going to click this drop down and reset. And also at that time, turn it off so it's no longer visible. So if they try to, maybe they bookmarked the previous link and they try to go there, they'll no longer have access, and they can't see this until 5 minutes before our session starts. Click, and now it's viewable to them. So that would be kind of a workaround, a way that I'd want to protect that chat from unintended consequences. One other way that we can foster community within our classroom is through the questions option. So if I'm back in classwork and hit create and go to question, in here, I can do how has your day been? And I can either let it be short answer or I can make it multiple choice. Pretty good, not bad, I can't complain. Right, so I have those options when I'm all set. Over here, I can make it where it's ungraded. I can put when I need them to have it all submitted. Students can see the class summary. If it's multiple choice, we can turn that on or off. And if it's short answer, we can do, students can reply to each other. If you don't want them to be able to, just uncheck that. And then we hit ask. And we'll see how has your day been. Our students can go in, type their response, see each other's responses, but not be able to respond unless I, select that option. So that is, just another informal way that we can try to continue to build that community through the Meet option and through being able to post these questions to each other. Those are two avenues to be able to bring our students together, even though we're a little bit further apart than we would have been in the past, or it just might look a little different today than it did a few months ago. All right, so again, we have learn more here about how to use Google Meet. We are doing a session about this on Thursday as well. I know it says May 7th, but it would be May 14th probably. Discussion post, we just went over. And continuing on, both Android and iOS have some really good apps for Classroom that add in some additional features. So one feature is I can pull up a student's assignment and I can draw my feedback directly in there. There is also an option in there to randomly select a student. So you'd pull up the roster and then I think it's like an icon of a dice or something that you can randomly select someone instead of having to have a popsicle stick, which may still be in your classroom at the school. The other feature that I really like is it allows you to use your device's camera and provide feedback that way. So now I could record myself giving feedback or record myself saying, hey everyone, I hope you're having a great week. This week, our challenge is we're going to do a talent show. And then you could easily post it and your kids could see you. Again, that's by using the mobile apps. On this page, if you click on either of these, it will take you to the app to be able to download it. So know that that's an available option. Also, if you're in a district where the teachers have access to Chromebooks, you can put the Android app on a lot of Chromebooks and be able to use some of those features too. So an end of year checklist, some different things that you might want to think through as we're moving towards the end of the school year. I would encourage you to make a copy of your class for next year and to archive your classes. So I'm going to model what this looks like. So in here, I have my class that has a bunch of different assignments in it. On the top right, we'll see that we have these 3 different dots, or I've heard them called ice cream cones. If I click on that, I have the option to copy. And this really is copying every single part of this class. So I'm going to call this 2020, 21, copy of Google Level 1, 20, and copy. And this might take a while because there are a lot of documents that are being created in the background, and probably about 20 different assignments and resources that are all being copied over too. But in just a moment, it's going to launch. I have my new class right here. Still finishing up. And I can go in there and we'll see what it looks like in just one moment. I think this is another one that I've previously done that with. So in here, you can see any assignment that was copied. They're all grayed until I'm ready to turn it on. So here, if I want to bring in Romeo and Juliet, we're to that unit all of a sudden, I can click the 3 dots, edit, and when I'm ready, hit assign, and now all of a sudden, all of those resources are available to my students, and they will have access to it. And they'll switch from being that grayed out option to now being the color of your theme, whatever that might be. So after you've made a copy of your course, the next step that I would probably do is to again click the 3 dots, and this time I would archive it. You'll notice that on my page right here, I have a lot of classes and they're starting to fill in, and it's hard and maybe hard to find the one that I want. So I can just go in and archive any that I'm no longer using. So this is from 2 years ago. I'm going to archive it, and it doesn't delete it. And this little message that comes up confirms that all of your class files will remain in Google Drive. It won't impact your students' files at all. They'll still have access to any work that they've done. But I just want to clean this up. And if at any point I need to bring one of those courses back, I can click my menu in the top left and come down to Archive Classes, find the one I want, and restore, and it comes back. It's not until I hit delete that it would actually go away for good. And I've never done that. You're not going to run out of room. You can see I have lots of classes in here that have been archived. Again, there is a video about how to do this that you can go back to when you're ready. So the final thing, there are the resources that we looked at the very beginning of the session that come directly from Google that you can go and continue your learning there. So all you have to do is click on this link and it'll take you to a lot of Google's free resources. Continuing on, thank you so much for joining. We are going to the wrap-up stage right now. You will have an opportunity to ask questions in just a few minutes. But if at any point in the future you want to connect with me, you can at adamseipel@gmail.com or at adamseipel on Twitter. And those are both linked here. Thank you to John and Eric for putting for making this happen by moderating and answering all the questions. I have seen a lot of action in the chat, and the fact that I don't have to switch over to it every single time has been very instrumental in this being successful. So thank you both. Huge thanks to Vassal, Pam, and Liza for making this a free offering for teachers around the state. And I think altogether we'll be at around 20 different sessions when it's all said and done. Right now we're getting about 200 people into each session. So that's an amazing impact on our schools in the state. So thank you. There will be some more sessions that were just posted a couple days ago for Google Week next week. So you can go and try to sign up for some of those. They are filling up quickly. So if you want to check it out, I'd encourage you to do that today. So finally, please leave some feedback. You can either do that by, if you have your slides pulled up, you can click where it says feedback. You can type in this address bit.ly/VASCLBACK, and that will take you to a short Google form where you can fill it out and tell us how the session went, give us some ideas about some future sessions for maybe the summer or fall. So we really appreciate that. That's also where you're going to, what you'll fill out to get a renewal certificate. So if you need that, you can get it from there too. With that note, please make sure that your name and email address is spelled correctly. Otherwise, you may not receive your certificate. So just a heads up about that. So at this point, if we'd like to transition to, if you want to stick around and ask any questions, you can do that. Otherwise, please head to the feedback form and leave some feedback so I can know how I can continue to improve and serve teachers.
Thanks, Adam. Very good information.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam. We appreciate all your help.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam.
You're welcome, guys.
Thanks so much, Adam. And let us know if you're adding any more sections of your classes. They're all full, the ones that I want.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely let you know what that looks like. We're kicking around ideas for how we can partner with different Virginia districts in the summer and fall and maybe offer more in-depth sessions as well. So we'll definitely keep you guys abreast with any of that. We have your emails if you fill out feedback form, and we'll let you know. You can also let your principals or school officials know. Thank you for saying that Carter's cute. You can let them know if you liked working with me, and maybe we can find a way to make that happen too.
Are you going to offer the 101 again? I missed it yesterday.
Next week, the Google Classroom that we are doing is kind of a hybrid of the two. But you can go in just a little bit. I'm going to shoot everyone an email that has some resources. And if you go to the Google Classroom 101 page, you can watch the video from yesterday and be able to get the content that way.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question about Google Meet.
Yeah.
I know that there was a bit of a discussion in the chat group about how to enable it and whether or not kids would be able to get in without us. Do you have any ideas about what happened when you tried that from another account and then it looked like you were able to get in? Like,
yeah.
I'm really worried. I want to do those, but I'm worried about students, middle school. I teach middle schoolers getting in and, before I'm there.
So the before you're there part, I just wouldn't click to turn on the link until you're ready. So that would be my first step, and I think that would alleviate a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So the other part, I'm logged into 4 different Google accounts right now and using incognito windows. So I think that that's probably why what we saw transpire happened. When I've tried it before, I haven't run into that issue before. So I was really surprised when that happened.
Okay.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah, Eric.
Haven't you mentioned Eric Kurtz before as a resource?
Yeah, Eric Kurtz.
Would you mind if I post a link to him going over the new special?
Make sure you do the survey so you get recertification points.
That's a good point. Whoever
did you see his basically like where you could print out the pages for the PowerPoint?
Okay, so Eric brought up a good resource about Eric Kurtz, who's an educator from Ohio. He has a whole series about using Google Meet, and you can go ahead and post the link to the YouTube playlist or whatever else you have found, and that would be great. Thank you, Eric, for posting Eric's resource. Kurtz, okay.
Yeah, he demonstrates like what the student and the teacher views look like by having a student and teacher account. And as long as, like when he's doing, as long as you're using the Google Meet only from within the classroom, even if the link is visible, the students cannot get in until the teacher is there. The link isn't even active until the teacher has joined.
Really? Okay, that's great.
But he does warn that if the teacher leaves and there's still students in there, it technically remains active for 30 seconds. So make sure you wait or manually remove the students before you close it out.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
Thank you, Eric.
Wait, which one, me or him?
All Erics everywhere. Thank you, Erics. So helpful. All right, any other questions?
How are we supposed to go to, what was the link to go to get the certificate and make comments?
I can bring that up real quick.
I tried clicking on it a couple times, it didn't go.
Okay, so here's the link, bit.ly/Vasselback.
Okay. All right.
And I will be emailing that out as well.
Okay.
Probably around 4 o'clock, you can expect an email from me.
All righty. Thank you.
Welcome.
Adam, I have a question about scheduling.
Okay.
Is there any way to schedule assignments to more than one class?
So not directly, but what you would do is once you've scheduled it to one, you can reuse a post from another class and then just schedule it again. So it is kind of, it's not the quickest process, but once you make a post for one class, you can redo it very easily, recreate it in another. So let me quickly show what that looks like. So I'm gonna bounce to, okay, so I'm in classwork, and when I go to create, I have the option to reuse a post. And in just a moment, it should load with all of my other classes and every post, and then I could use it again and then schedule that one.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. All right, any other questions out there?
Yeah, I created everything in Stream instead of classwork. So is there an easier way to copy everything to classwork, or do I have to do it manually?
You'll probably have to do it manually. Yeah, when you do Stream, you are definitely limited in the types of things that you can post. It's mostly just here's text, and you might be able to add a quick link in there. I really feel that doing most of my work in classwork has become my workflow. But I feel like once you're in here for a while, you'll probably find out what works for you.
Yeah, I'm learning the hard way. Thank you.
Oh, that's how I learned too. Okay, any other questions out there? All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope that this is helpful as you continue to serve your students this year and in the future. Thank you again so much, and have a great day.
Thanks,
Adam.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.